All right, guys, welcome back. It is the next day. It is about 100 degrees in my garage because it is so hot. I have tin roofs, and listen to this guy revving it outside. And before I can get stuck into cutting and welding and all the rest of it, I had to go to Bunnings and get myself a fan. Got myself a fan for the garage. This is the newest addition to Saab's garage. And before I can go ahead and continue, I need to set this up because it is hot in here. I'm cooking. So I'm going to do that now, and then we're going to get stuck into welding and cutting and bending the tubing that's going to go from the chassis rail to the strut towers. We're going to do those, and we're going to do some more fabrication in here in the boot. All right, so let's get stuck into setting the fan up. Let's go. It's got a remote, very fancy. So now we're going to test it, see if it works, and see how much of a difference it makes. Awesome. Now that we've done that, it's time to continue working on the car. We're going to use the tube bender, and we're going to cut, bend, and weld the strut tower tubes. All right, you ready? Let's go. All right, guys, before I bend the tube, I'm going to let you know what I did here. All right, so I've measured from the plate to the chassis rail, and that distance is 500, right? 50 centimeters or 500 millimeters, okay? I'm going to show you really quickly, all right? So look, this tube is a cheater tube. Now, this was once a straight piece, obviously. When it was straight, every inch, I put a line. And then as I started bending it, every 10 degrees, I marked another line. That's 10, that's 20, that's 30, that's 40, 50, etc., right? This line here is the start of your die. So this is where you start bending it from, okay? Now, you can measure off this tube how much material you'll need. The length is 500, and then it's got to bend down to the chassis rail. 500 back to here. So I'll go 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch, 7, 8 inches, okay? 8 inches of material will give me a 90-degree bend. So I do 500 plus the 8 inches, which is about 200 millimeters, so 20 centimeters. Give a little bit extra, so I did 250. Okay, so 500 plus 250 is 750. And there you go, 750. So that gives me my 500 from the strut tower to where I needed to start bending, and then the allowance for the bend down to the chassis rail. And that is how you measure straight tube for bending. Okay, now I'm going to link you to a video in my description of the guy that I learned this from. It's called the Fabrication Series. This guy is an absolute legend. He knows his stuff. His videos are full in depth, like you'll learn so much from him. So I advise you, if you want to do more fabrication work yourself, look at his videos. He's got videos from welding to bending tube to doing roll cages to doing front ends and rear ends and all of it. The guy's a gun. I advise you to go check it out. The link is in the description. Go check him out. So now I've got my piece, 750 long. Now I'm going to put in the bender and bend it. Let's go. And then we have it, guys. 2 tubes bent. Exactly the same. Now these go like this. I've just got to trim them down to size, but so you get an idea, and that's how they go. Obviously they're going to be cut height-wise and lengthwise, but all in all, that's where they go. Mad. Look how good that looks. Whoo-wee. Looks fat as. Now to cut them down to size and put them in. All right, guys, so I've done it. I've put them in. As you can tell, they are just sitting in place. They're not welded yet, but both have been cut down to size and cut lengthwise. I just got to clean them up, weld them in. Now, but before I do that, there's something I need to do now that I think it'll be better for me to do it now as opposed to doing it later. And that is the sheeting on the sides. So as you can see, there's an opening here and I want to seal it off. I want to sheet it, but I want to do it prior to welding the bar on. So what I'm going to do is I've got a cardboard template here and I've started trimming where it needs to go. So I've made a template up. I'm going to transfer that to a sheet of metal, which I've got over here. Put this bad boy on here, trace around it, cut it out, and then that piece of metal gets welded here. And there you have it. That's exactly how that's going to go. I'm going to do it on both sides, and then I'm going to cut where the plates are. I'm going to cut a hole in the center of the sheet and then put the bar where it needs to go and then weld it on. It's going to be easier for me to do it when I haven't welded the tubes in. So I'm going to do it now and then we're going to weld the tubes in. Let's go. It's all done, the plate's in, the bar's in, all nice and complete. Now what I've got to do is I've got to put the fuel tank back in it, because off this tube I have to do 2 brackets that's going to support the fuel tank because the straps hold it up. I don't want it to move in any way, so I've got to do 2 brackets off here down to the fuel tank, and then it's going to get bolted to the fuel tank. So we're going to make these brackets, then I've got to take the fuel tank back out, weld the brackets on, and once I've done that I'm going to paint everything that I've done, because once I put the fuel tank back in and plumb it up, I'm not taking it out again. Anyway, all right, we're gonna get to this now. Let's go. All right, guys, I'm done. I've finished. I've welded the brackets for the fuel tank in. When I had the fuel tank in and I had just tack welded it, it was pretty solid. So now I've welded it completely, and my welds are shocking. Oh, looks like I fed too many sausages into that barbecue, that's for sure. Take note, don't weld when you're tired. I've had a long day. Anyway, so that's done. I'm happy. Now tomorrow we're going to get stuck into, I'm probably going to install the lockout, the eccentric lockout kit, and attempt the subframe collars. And I've got to cut the boot floor sheet out, and I've got to cut and weld the wheel arches. Woo, there's heaps of work to do. Anyway, listen, stay tuned. I'll see you at the next one. Peace.